Welcome to Behind the Scenes at Andrew Pickett Law, bringing excellence, compassion, and relentless advocacy to life's toughest moments. From car accidents to insurance battles, we guide, support, and advocate for you every step of the way. My name is Andrew Pickett. I'm the owner of Andrew Pickett Law. We specialize in personal injury and auto accident cases. And I'm here today with one of the attorneys at my office, Tiffany Whitehouse. Hi, Tiffany.
Hey, Andrew. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
So I just wanted to come and ask you some questions. Something we've been talking about recently is contingency fees. So I want to ask you, what is something people don't realize about personal injury cases as far as payments?
A lot of people have the misperception that when you hire a lawyer, regardless of the type of law, that you have to pay out of pocket. And while that is true for some areas of law, like family law, for example, or criminal law, with personal injury law, the client doesn't have to pay out of pocket ever because we operate on what's called a contingency fee. And what that means is that our fee is contingent or dependent on our ability to get a settlement for a client. And so once we do get a settlement, our fee comes out of the insurance company's settlement check as opposed to out of the client's pocket. And if we don't win a settlement, the client doesn't owe any money.
So if someone were to come to you, to us, and have a case, and for whatever reason, there wasn't going to be a settlement in that case, what do they owe you?
They don't owe anything because our fee is dependent on our ability to get a settlement. So if for some reason there's no settlement or we can't pursue their case, they don't owe any money at all.
So it kind of takes away the risk of it.
Exactly. It not only takes away the risk, but it also aligns the incentives so that the lawyer and the client both have the same interests in mind. In other words, the lawyer has the incentive to get the maximum possible for the client in the shortest amount of time, because that also results in the maximum amount for the lawyer in the shortest amount of time. So we're on the same page as far as our incentives. Unlike, for example, in an hourly billing situation where a lawyer might have an incentive to drag on a case for years just so they can build up their bill.
So when someone comes to Andrew Pickett Law, how do you want them to feel about the representation that they're going to get?
So we want people to feel like we're on the same team and we're fighting the same battle and we're in their corner. And the contingency fee really allows us to do that because, like I said earlier, our interests are aligned. And so we want to communicate to the client throughout the whole representation that we have them taken care of. And everything that we're doing and everything that they're doing is intended to maximize the value of the case so that we have a common goal.
So it's kind of like a reassurance.
Exactly. The clients are being reassured that we have their interests in mind, and the contingency fee reflects that.
So I know you keep saying contingency fee, but can you break that down to the very basics for me?
Sure. So a contingency fee simply means that our fee is contingent or dependent on the ability to make a recovery for the client. So in a typical personal injury case, the end result is going to be a settlement where the insurance company is sending a check to the attorney's office for whatever the case settles for. And if the case settles, our fee comes out of that settlement check. So if a case settles for $10,000, for example, our fee, if we settle it without having to file a lawsuit, is 1/3 or 33.33%. So on a $10,000 settlement, our fee is $3,333.33. And so the check comes from the insurance company, goes to our trust account, we deposit it, then we pay out our fee from that check. We pay off the costs and the medical bills, and then the rest goes to the client. So at no point in time is money coming out of the client's pocket to satisfy our fee. Our fee comes from the insurance company's settlement check.
So if I have $0 in my bank account, I can come and hire your firm if I get into a crash?
That's right. You could have a negative balance in your bank account, and we'd be able to represent you. And that's one of the things that I think is most satisfying about our practice. And as you have probably seen, we have a wide range of clients that we serve. Some people are unemployed or looking for work. Some people are high earning professionals. And their ability to get representation is not affected by their income. And we treat all of our clients the same. So we're not picking and choosing, working harder on our higher income clients than our lower income. We're able to serve everybody equally. I'm sure you've seen in your work how you've represented clients from all walks of life. Is that fair?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've represented everybody under the sun. And it's really a great feeling to know that you can go to one of our clients and I can represent them, and it doesn't matter where they're from, where they're at, what backgrounds they come from. Everybody, when they come here, like, they are an equal footed client. They're important and they get the representation that they deserve.
Right. Yeah. And I've often reflected on that. And I think with most people in their professional lives, there's a tendency to have exposure to people who are very similar to them. And I think one of the things that the practice of law gives us, especially personal injury law, is we get exposure to a wide diversity of clients, diversity of income, diversity of race, background, national origin, everything. And we can do the same job for anybody across the spectrum. And that's something that I think is unique to personal injury work that I think is really satisfying for me because it gives somebody the ability to have access to the court system.
How do the clients react when they find out like they don't have to pay anything up front?
Well, I think a lot of people are surprised by it. One of the questions that we often get on an initial intake call is how much is this going to cost? And so once we explain it, I think clients feel reassured that um, they're not going to have to fork over any money either at the beginning or on a payment plan. And so I think most clients are really appreciative of the structure.
How do you feel that this like levels the playing field as it relates to the clients versus the insurance companies?
Well, I think that anybody that we're representing, any individual, is always going to be far outmatched by the insurance company as far as how much money they have. Because even the most wealthy person compared to a multi-billion dollar insurance company isn't going to stand a chance without an attorney. So what I think we offer as a firm is the ability to have very high quality attorneys representing people and leveling the playing field with the insurance company because without having an attorney, you're kind of at the mercy of getting bullied by an entity that can outspend you. And so with our firm, we have the resources to be able to bring these cases to trial and really apply a lot of unique skill sets that will allow us to advocate and get the best results for our clients that they wouldn't have if they were just doing this on their own.
That's interesting you say that. Something you brought up that I've heard has been the idea that like, okay, well, if your interests are aligned and then, settling it sooner might be better for the attorney, are you going to be willing to take my case all the way if I need to? And so what do you say to that?
So we have an obligation on behalf of our clients outside of the financial interest to represent them diligently and to get the best result we can for them. And a lot of times, what we're seeing, especially these days, is that the settlement offers that we're getting early on are much lower than they used to be. And so, almost by necessity, we're having to file lawsuits on many more cases than we used to. And that's necessarily going to prolong things, but it's almost invariably going to lead to a higher settlement for the client. So, it's not as if we as a firm approach this as kind of a churn and burn and try to settle the cases as quickly as possible. Some cases do require that, but we approach each case individually and we're always guided by the client's best interests.
You're comfortable going to trial though if a case would need it.
Yes, and that's something I think that we're very proud of at this firm is being willing to take cases all the way to trial. And that actually serves the client's interests because the insurance companies know which firms will go to trial and which firms will not. And if you're willing to go to trial, what you're also doing is creating a lot more risk for the insurance company. And usually you're getting a lot higher settlement offer the farther that you're willing to go.
Okay, so we said there's no like charges, but lawyers. So what are the hidden fees?
So we don't have any hidden fees. Our fees are very well set out in our fee agreement or our contingency fee contract, which is a standard contract that's approved by the Florida bar. And the way that it works is that if we settle a case without having to file a lawsuit, our fees are one third or 33 and third percent. If we have to file a lawsuit, the fee goes up from 33.3% to 40%, and then is capped at 40% even if we go to trial. And so that's the entire clarity of our fee structure. What we also offer to do on behalf of clients is we offer to advance our costs. So these cases can be expensive. We have to pay for medical records, we pay for investigators, we pay for depositions, court reporters, experts, and we will advance all of those costs on behalf of the clients. And then at the end, we get reimbursed whatever we advance if we're able to get a recovery. And we always give clients the option of advancing the costs on their own. I've never had a client do that because we are willing to take on that risk. And so we have our fees set forth clearly as a percentage, and then we have whatever costs we expend, and that's it. So no hidden fees.
Okay. So you kind of touched on it there, but as far as like access to the courts and whatnot, how does this affect the ability of just your average person who gets into a situation where they need a personal injury lawyer to be able to, you know, have someone fight for them?
So access to justice is an issue that is a very big deal in our country today. And we hear this across all different areas of law. In criminal law, for example, you have the right to a court appointed attorney if you can't afford one. But in the civil justice system, there's not that corresponding right. And so a lot of people who are going through the civil justice system can't afford to hire the best attorney that they can. And a lot of times they're stuck with whatever they can afford and they get what they pay for, or they can't afford an attorney at all. And so in the personal injury realm, it's completely different. You could have the best attorney in the state or in the country without having any money that you have to pay them at the outset. And that I think is a very satisfying aspect of our practice area because we, through our contingency structure, are able to give anybody the same access to the court system as anybody else.
So do you feel that this accessibility to justice is important to your overall firm's mission?
It is because our ability to represent people, regardless of their income level or their socioeconomic background, gives us the ability to have a client population that really reflects the community that we're serving. And it's particularly satisfying to obtain a great result for a client where the settlement can literally change their life. And that can be actually a lot more impactful for a lower income person than somebody who's a high wage earner. So I think it gives us a lot of satisfaction in what we're doing. It also allows us to have our client population reflect the community that we're serving.
So through your experience, obviously, people come to know that you do personal injury. Have you found that there are people who have been involved in crashes, slip and falls, that kind of thing, and for whatever reason, they never pursued it because they didn't understand that this was an option for them?
Yeah, we see that quite a bit, especially when people come to us after maybe their second or third accident. And in their first or second, they didn't have an attorney and they got taken advantage of by an insurance company where they were offered a small amount or they didn't think that they could afford an attorney, so they didn't hire one, and they ended up leaving a lot on the table. And so we often have that kind of buyer's remorse from clients who are coming in not knowing that they could have contacted us earlier.
Yeah, that makes sense. Something that kind of sticks out to me about that too, you said sometimes you have clients that come in that have an accident that they previously gotten into. Does that stop? Does that change things? Does that stop you from representing them?
No, it's fairly common. I mean, most adults that we represent at some point in their lives are going to have had a prior accident. And the insurance companies are always going to try to use that against them to suggest that whatever injuries they're claiming from the current accident is pre-existing. But it's a very common situation for somebody to have had a prior accident. And that's by no means a reason why you shouldn't talk to an attorney.
We've kind of gone through contingency fees and how the system that you have in place at the firm really allows just anybody who is in the situation where they need a lawyer to come to you. But if you could summarize in one sentence what all of this would mean to someone who's watching this, what would that be?
It would probably be that you don't ever have to pay us any money out of your pocket. And the only fee that we get comes from the insurance company.
That's great. Well, that's all I have for you. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening to Behind the Scenes at Andrew Pickett Law, where we fight for you every step of the way.